It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast as we talk your real estate property news right around Australia on our Monday after a weekend. Hope you had a good one. If you were transacting, always a busy time with auctions, and they're very, very busy at the moment. Good luck if you found some success. Yes, Monday morning, September the 30th, and I mentioned on Friday about this CoreLogic report telling us about the number of Australian suburbs with median house or unit values in the $1 million range, which has reached a record high. Just in terms of Brisbane this morning, now Brisbane is tied with Sydney for the largest net growth in $1 million markets, with 46 house markets joining the seven-figure club. Now, they have joined in the past year, and this brings Brisbane's total to $149 million suburbs, representing 46% of the 324 analysed, surpassing the June 2022 peak of 114. Having a look at regional Queensland, that saw 30 new $1 million suburbs, led by the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast. Probably not much surprise there, which accounted for 50% and 48.2% of the market. If you travel further north in tropical Cairns, Goldsboro and Palm Cove also reached seven-figure median values, which rounded off the list. So yes, those numbers, they are appreciating all the time. Don't forget, you can join the conversation. Our email address is myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. And this morning we are headed off to the Whitsundays and to Hamilton Island to catch up with Lynn Milsom. And Lynn, good morning and welcome to the Real Estate Breakfast. You were hearing some of those numbers. Hamilton Island, where does that sit in price range at the top of the market?
Thank you, Craig. Yeah, great to be here. Thank you for having me on the show. Hamilton Island, we're nearly there. The market would sit at about 940,000. Our Queensland Sotheby's medium sits at about 1.14, so it's definitely creeping up.
How long have you been in that very desirable spot?
Close to 6 years now I've been selling here in Hamilton Island. So I've got a good hold on the market. We have a really strong market segment and section of that market that we maintain. We sit in a really nice luxury price point in that market. I mean, you can purchase right through the price points, but we do tend to do some of that higher end property.
Yes, it's a very stunning part of Australia, of course. If you have a look at some of the infrastructure since 1982, I note that over $400 million has been invested there. So quite a bit of infrastructure being spent probably all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Hamilton Island is a really beautiful, livable destination. The Oatleys have spent a great deal of money making it so. Since they've owned it, they have really lifted the livability and the access that you have to the island. It is just off the coast. You can only access via boat or plane, and there are no cars on the island, so everyone drives golf buggies. It's really quite a nice experience.
Yes, and just talking about the infrastructure, of course, they've got the upcoming boutique hotel, the Sundays, and that is going to be opening next year in 2025. No doubt just another attraction for people. Now, let's just have a look at the high-end luxury market. Of course, this is in a regional zone. You've kind of got two worlds happening, haven't you? The luxury market in a smaller regional part of Australia.
Yeah, it's really a unique market. I guess when you think regional, people think much lower price points. And you can get into Hamilton Island at a lower price point, but we also have a lot of properties that sell in that sort of $10 million plus range.
Perhaps tell us a little bit about the demographics there, Lynn. Mum and dad investors are investing. Now, a lot of people might be a little bit surprised by that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most people think of Hamilton Island as this really high-end destination where it would cost you an absolute bomb to buy property. And that can be true. I mean, there's definitely that element to the market. But we find our core demographic, mum and dad investors, you can get in the market from $250,000 for a really small one-bedroom, nice little investment property. But the core of our market sort of sits at around that $1 million to $1.3 million, two-bedroom, holiday let type property that can get you a really nice return of sort of 5+%. And what we find is people buy these properties so that they have that lifestyle investment. They can come up and use the property, but they also get that really nice return while it's vacant. They're really easily managed. The whole island is geared around holiday and holiday making. So everything's set up and in place to attract these type of people to come to the market, spend money and, stay in these beautiful luxury properties.
Now, you said $250,000 for a one-bedroom apartment. What?
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. Usually that type of property is a permanent rental. It's leased out to, say, a staff member that lives and works on island. Again, still really good investment. The rental market's really tight and in high demand on the island, so there's usually no vacancies. But you can absolutely enter the market at a really low price.
Well, that will probably be quite surprising for many people because you've got connectivity, haven't you, in terms of flights in, and I think that's always sort of been changing and evolving over the last 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, every day you can fly to the island direct from Sydney, Melbourne or Brisbane. And most, I think, Jetstar, Qantas and Virgin all fly from those destinations. So getting to the island is really easy. Once you're on island, it's usually a really short buggy ride and you're at your property or you're at the attractions of Hamilton Island enjoying your holiday.
We are in the Whitsundays in Hamilton Island. We are talking to Lynn. We'll talk more about this desirable location after this.
Why pay a premium for advertising that's too expensive? Our listeners are actively engaged in the real estate market. Get your message directly into the ears that can influence your business.
Are you looking at the moment of installing solar power? Well, you might have seen this last week. Rooftop solar power is growing so rapidly in Australia that authorities are warning of potential electricity system overloads. Not a lack of, but rather an oversupply. Last week, in fact, the Australian energy market issued a rare minimum system load notice for Victoria, where excess solar generations risked overwhelming grid demand due to mild sunny conditions. And with over 3 million households now equipped with solar panels, solar power has become the nation's largest energy source, posing challenges for grid management during periods of low demand. Of course, some people will say this is payback to those rather expensive electricity bills that the electricity suppliers have been dining off on for so many years. And since we are talking about Hamilton Island this morning, in case you were wondering, there is plenty of solar panels in the Whitsundays, helped of course by the region's ample sunshine.
From powerful and up-to-date news to professional real estate experts with the latest property trends on the Real Estate Podcast.
And it is a Real Estate Monday after the weekend, and we are in a very nice little part of Australia, the Whitsundays in Hamilton Island, finding out what is happening in the market there with Lynn Milsom. Now, what would you say to a couple, perhaps a young couple that are trying to get into the market? They've just heard you say $250,000 and they've looked at each other and they've said, well, we can afford that right now. Shall we go to Hamilton Island? What would you say to somebody that is going to be working from home if they've got that sort of a business to get into the market on Hamilton Island?
Yeah, look, it's definitely worth looking at. I find those type of properties actually perform best when they're put back into a rental market. I mean, it's a beautiful place to live, and we definitely have people that work from home and live in those properties. But I think they perform their best when they are investment properties and put back into fulfilling the roles that Hamilton Island needs for hospitality and all those things that keep the island running.
Yeah, but, coming back to the couple, they've decided that we're going to do it. So what sort of lifestyle is that? Because you don't have any issues with connecting to the internet and all of that. It's not 1960s.
That's true. Look, it's really doable. The island's beautiful. You've got resort pools, you've got beaches, beautiful infrastructure and amenity around you. You're on the Whitsundays, so you can go out fishing every day. I mean, I don't know how much work you'd get done.
This is the thing, because so many people are into water sports and it is right on your back doorstep. You can get into the market for $250K. It's pretty appealing.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Now, what about the celebrity factor? They love Hamilton Island because of the privacy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the really big names, it's quite public information, have made it to the island. Oprah Winfrey spent quite a bit of time on the island. Taylor Swift, after not her most recent Australian tour, but I think the one prior to that. One Direction, Chris Hemsworth is quite a frequent attendee to Hamilton Island. They love Hamilton Island. We had the movie filmed there recently. The name escapes me, but George Clooney and Julia Roberts were both on island. So it does have this element of privacy. I mean, most of the staff and residents, even when we see the celebrities, you kind of leave them alone. They know that they're going to get left alone. They can go to the coffee shop or they can go out for dinner and just enjoy themselves and feel like normal people rather than being harassed.
Yeah, if somebody's living there in one of those apartments, the first thing they probably buy is a set of binoculars to watch the planes land.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a sport watching the helicopters and the private planes land and see who's made their way to the island next.
All right then, Lynn. Well, great to catch up and find out a little bit about your market. Very revealing. I can tell you, you're going to probably get some phone calls from first-home buyers making some inquiries on the one-bedroom apartment for sure.
Yeah, look, always happy to help, always happy to talk to people about the market and share the good news that is Hamilton Island. It's a piece of island paradise.
If you're confused about the property market, don't be. Unlock and educate yourself with the latest trending analysis and interviews
that we're about to enter into in the spring market here in the ACT. Things keep ticking along, which is really nice, and there's definitely people starting to be more confident to transact.
Yeah, that's right. Dubai is definitely quickly becoming the beach club capital of the world. Soon it will be home to 7 of the world's most favourite clubs. It's going to be an amazing lineup of fantastic places to party and have fun by the beach.
Some of these things like land tax thresholds and minimum property standards, things like having to do property upgrades to older properties. These things are things to consider when looking at the overall cost of holding an investment property.
The most expensive suburbs were Hobart, the city itself. Then it was Battery Point, Sandy Bay, and then if we go broader, Binlong Bay actually shows up at 1.225 million, and then Coles Bay, which is still over that $1 million mark.
Explore new property destinations where you could live with exclusive interviews covering real estate news and market insights. We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.